Welcome back to another episode of Noble Thoughts. Today, we're diving into the artistry and authenticity of a creative voice that's making waves right here in Indianapolis. My guest is Kyng Rhodes, an artist whose work doesn't just reflect the city, it redefines it. King, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your noble thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me, Brittany. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Tell me, was there ever a moment when you knew you wanted to pursue art as more than just a hobby?
I think when I realized that I could do it as a career, the second I obtained that knowledge, I was ready to go. My mother would tell you as soon as 3 years old, as soon as I realized that you can make markings on things with other things. So I started grabbing her eyeliner or crayons or pens. She'll tell you that I started creating. I started drawing, and when she went and noticed, was going to discipline me, she looked and was like, "This is better than what's expected of a 3-year-old." And from then on, I had the support of my family giving me gifts of art supplies and things of that nature for Christmas, birthday, and so I never had. There's never a lack of supply, so I was just always creating.
Tell us what's your style and what inspires it.
So a lot of it stems from it has a biblical undertone, um, and I want it to be an undertone sometimes because that gives me a chance to explain it. Explain it to the viewers when I'm showcasing it at a gallery or an art fair, and they're asking me, what's the yellow light that it's in all your paintings? I tell them that's like my Nike swoosh. That's my signature. I call it the spotlight. It's a ray of light. It's God's grace. It's God's calling. It's His divine will. It's all of those things. And a spotlight calls attention to something, whether it's good or bad. So it's the perfect device of symbolism to use whenever I'm speaking on numerous different subjects, whether I'm talking about the history of America, whether I'm talking about Black culture and how it's been affected, or whether I'm just solely speaking on biblical stories themselves, calling attention to the people involved or the characters. The spotlight helps out a lot. So I really wanted a style that was unique to me. So I, have looked at tons of art since I was younger, and I kind of just developed different elements that I didn't see all present in one composition. And I'm just drawn to the colors I use. A lot of my works from college and even earlier on, works that I made in like my bedroom when I was younger had the same colors present. So it's just kind of like what calls to me became my style.
What's it like to have your art and your style here in Indianapolis? What's it like to create here in the Circle City?
I would say it's a blessing because of the change that the city is undergoing as far as the art scene. We are not considered an artistic city. We're known more for, our sports and NASCAR, the Indy 500, and things of that nature. So Indy is finding its creative voice, but there's been a lot of pioneers and people that are help pushing that forward, including the artists themselves. And so when I want to say around 2019 and 2020, I was considering leaving the city to pursue an art career. And by the grace of God, I met the right people to show me, hey, there's an art scene here. This is what we're trying to do. And then I, rethought it, and I was thinking, I could go off to a bigger city like New York or a place that's more established in the arts and be, um, you know, just get into the mix, with all the other artists, or I could stay in the city that I was born and help develop the art scene and be known as one of the first to do some of the things that we're able to do. And so that's the decision I chose to stick with, and I'm glad.
What are some of the unique challenges that you face as an artist here?
deciding on whether to work with a gallery to take on gallery representation or to continue pursuing this on my own, representing myself as an artist. The creative side um, has a lot of perks to it. And, I'm really grateful to be a creative. But when you become a full time creative and you start doing this as a career, there are other elements that you may not be used to, which kind of fall into the administrative side of all the emails and trying to, try to obtain funding for maybe a project that you want to do, or trying to uh, get involved with a certain organization, or trying to be selected for a show. There's all these different things that you have to do, canvassing, if you will, going out and just promoting yourself and networking, and understanding how to price your work, seeing your value, and having those conversations with people about where you want to go and where you want to take your career, and knowing the difference between something that will take your career further and something that may cause you to be stagnant. These are all things that you just have to learn as an artist. And there could be some politics sometimes. I think a lot of careers fall into it's all about who you know or what you've done. And I feel like sometimes artists can experience that their work may be phenomenal, but the gallery's looking for an artist that has shown, here or done that. And so they make those decisions sometimes based outside of how good the work is or the story that it's telling.
Do you see your work as a form of activism, storytelling?
Certain works, I would say, are definitely a form of both activism and storytelling. Um, and it's really interesting when I go to create one of those works when that's put on my heart, because I have to be prepared for, what people are going to say or how they're going to feel about it. That's what art calls us to do. It calls us meant to be reacted to. It's meant to draw out emotion. It's meant to provoke thought. So, a lot of my earlier works that I would say I introduced to the community, or that introduced me to the community, definitely had an activism kind of, you know, approach, talking about Black culture and Black history. And then every one of my works, believe it or not, is telling a story. I often have very lengthy narratives to them. They could be there. It could be a story, like I said, that has a biblical context. It could be a story of something that someone shared with me that I just wanted to tell their story, or it could be a story that I experienced of my own. But I never really just paint to be painting. Some people might just, oh, I'm just painting a flower. This is just a painting of a bird, or just an artwork of a bird. Every one of my works has a story to it, because this is my chance to tell the world how I feel. When I'm long gone, people will know the things that I stood for, the things that I did not like, or the things that I may have struggled with or battled with, because I'm telling those stories in my work.
What's next for you?
Well, I am currently working with Crown Hill Cemetery. I am developing a mural to go in a tunnel that's present on their grounds, on their campus. It will be unveiled, I believe, sometime in June, um, along with their Juneteenth celebration, I believe it is. And I have a couple of other projects that I wish that I could mention, but I can't. There will be announcements that will be made soon. And I'm just grateful for all the blessings and opportunities that I'm being afforded.
Amen. We see all of the artwork behind you. Where can we purchase your work?
My website has several works that are available. I also sometimes will post works that are available on my Instagram. If someone's interested, they can DM me and I'll let them know if it's available. We can discuss things from there. Um, and if you have an idea of something that falls in line with the narrative of my work, or maybe I've created a work before that you were interested in, but it was bought at an art fair or a gallery before you got a chance to purchase it and you wanted it, we could reach out. You could reach out and we could discuss me possibly creating another version of that. But I will say I stick to my narratives and the things that I talk about. I stick to my style. I don't really enjoy being asked to create another artist style. I would, you know, I would encourage people if they like my style to, stay within the realm of things I like to talk about or create. I feel like that's where the strength of an artist is when they're painting from their soul, from their voice.
Tell me, what advice would you give to young artists in Indianapolis that are trying to find their voice and their space?
I would say to a young artist or an up and coming artist to go out and network and to meet the community. There are First Fridays every month of the year. So there's tons of artwork out there, and they can go out and they'll see the artists in their community out there networking, uh, talking amongst each other. And I know 10 artists that I can think of right now that are always eager to give out advice to up and coming artists. So there'll be no lack of knowledge. They'll be invited in. Me, myself, I'm always out there telling artists, hey, you know, every story will be different, but these are some of the things that I have noticed that have worked for me over the years. Um, and we want to see more artists. It's not your typical form of employment. It's not your typical, job. When I tell people that I'm an artist, they're like, sometimes they think musical artists. Some of them will ask me, "Oh, you're a musician, musical artist?" I'm like, "No, I'm an artist. I'm a fine artist. I'm a painter." And they're always surprised that that's something that I'm able to do full time. And a lot of it is because of the community and staying in touch with those people that are willing to work with you and passing opportunities on to our friends and things of that nature. Sometimes there is an opportunity and I already have one in front of me, and so I can't work on that one. And reaching out to another artist and saying, hey, there's this community center, or there's this organization, they're looking for a mural and a muralist, and I thought of you. I know you'd be able to execute this. And they may not have had an opportunity at that point in time. So that allows them to feed themselves and their family, to increase their portfolio. And so it's things like that I would just encourage them to talk, to communicate. And I understand also though that that can be hard for artists sometimes. Artists are some of the most sensitive and emotional beings. Um, and so sometimes that can be difficult, but hopefully they come across someone like myself or some of my friends that I know that'll be willing to share that with them. I would also tell them to uh, get in touch with the Indianapolis Arts Council. They have their own platform. They can make a profile there that kind of makes them more visible to the public so that they can go and find artists that might fit their own unique project that they're looking to complete. Um, I would tell them to visit Newfields and to tap in with Gang culture. There are several organizations in the city that are working to preserve the arts and to move it forward.
Well, King, thank you so much for sharing your story. It is clear that your art is more than just what's on your wall. It's in how you move, how you connect, how you uplift others. You reminded us today that being an artist is also about being rooted in something so much deeper. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your noble thoughts with us.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Well, with us today, we have Alan and Molly Bacon. They are the founders of the cultural development firm GANGGANG. They believe in using the arts to change hearts and minds. They are building culture, equity, and beauty here in the Midwest. They've elevated the art scene in Indianapolis with their startup. You guys started, as I understand, with just $250,000. You have been able to grow that money. Tell us a little bit more about GANGGANG.
Gosh, well, thank you so much for having us. It is always a pleasure to talk about Gang Gang, to talk about culture and progress in general. We launched Gang Gang in 2020 in the midst of a kind of double pandemic. You know, the world was at a standstill. Our city was at a standstill in terms of the health pandemic and the race pandemic that was going on. We knew that art and culture was the answer, was the revival, and was the opportunity to bring people together and to rebuild our city.
Yeah, I think it's fortunate to be in a city with, organizations and groups like the CIC, Central Indiana Community Foundation, and the Herbert Simon Family Foundation to recognize, specific initiatives and ideas, and to put funding behind what we feel in that moment. If everything 2020 was about what separates people, and we knew that art and culture would be the ethos to bring people together. So just really thankful for Indianapolis, the city, wrapping their arms around this mission to produce, promote, and preserve culture at scale, and it's making some changes.
Had you always had the idea to create this development firm?
Well, I had been working in the arts and culture field for quite some time, specifically in the nonprofit space. My career in Indianapolis has kind of been based in that. And, 2020 offered an opportunity to create a more formal container for the work that I had been doing, 15 years prior. It felt like the intersection of civic pride, arts and culture, and conversations on race and equity.
Mhm.
And finally, the time period created or allowed people to understand what I had been doing, all those years prior. And now they knew, oh my gosh, this is how I can use it. This is how, arts can change a city. And so for me, it's felt like I've been doing this work, for quite some time, and now people understand why it's so critical.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm, my professional career has been in the for-profit education industry for a bulk of it, and has some nonprofit experience. But I'm a musician and artist, so just having that relationship with just the transformative power of art and what art can do, I just really led just that lens to the conversation, and to what we knew would be a successful venture when you're doing anything related to art, people, and culture, and investing in that. We've been able to really be, I think, blessed with a lot of great opportunities to see that manifestation of that dream.
Let's talk about some of the events that you guys have been able to pull out here and the work that you're doing here.
Yes. Well, you mentioned the kind of seed investment of $250,000 in 2020, which quickly became more than, over $1 million in operating support for Gang Gang. And that has allowed our advocacy to take on a lot of new forms, especially in programming. But we are deliberate. We like to say that we advocate every day. We're doing the mission every day. And a lot of time, our most visible efforts, what people kind of think of most are our programmatic efforts, like the Butter Fine Art Fair, like the I Made Rock and Roll Festival, like the Taggart series, the Festival of Black Joy that we're a part of. There's so many kind of tentacles in the community and opportunities for us to show in real time kind of what we're saying, that if we center beauty, culture, and equity, if we center the arts, and those are all outcomes that we get for our city, and it improves our quality of life, it improves our quality of place, it improves our bottom line. And so Butter, for example, has been proving that, in action for the last 4 years. This is the 5th anniversary. It's a really important time for Gang Gang and for efforts like Butter that, yes, are what we call testing, kind of different ways to advocate again for equitable cities by way of the arts.
Let's dig into that just a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about butter, what that looks like, and how you're helping artists here.
Butter has been a fascinating venture for us, and thinking to something that we've been able to really leverage and use to test just equity within this fine art space. I think we've been able to challenge the dichotomy between the worth and value of artists. I think we've been able to amplify some voices within this measure, and also provide economic opportunity, for, we talk about starving artists, but this is the largest entrepreneurial group of any city. So they're finding ways to help, leverage resources and create things like a butter, which, in its fourth year, I mean, we worked to sell 100% of the works that are shown in butter, and we also give 100% of all the sales and proceeds back to the artists. And in 4 years, we've almost eclipsed over $1 million going back to the artists. We're over $900,000 dollars north of what that mark is, and know that Butter 5 this year, just the hallmark monumental year of this art fair, that will go over that $1 million mark, and that's something that we're looking to celebrate, and also just a time to pause and just reflect on just the growth of the art and culture sector within Indianapolis.
And maybe for those who are not familiar, Butter is a fine art fair. It is Indianapolis's fine art fair. It is America's equitable art fair. And it is a multi-day experience that happens in downtown Indianapolis over Labor Day weekend. It has happened at the historic Stutz building for the last 4 years. In the Indiana Avenue Cultural District, which we are very proud of and very intentional about saying and preserving the stories within. But yeah, it is a multi-day, multi-sensory experience that centers Black visual artists. And we work to create a context that is worthy of their work, that is worthy of the talent. And we are intentionally putting Indiana-based artists on the same ticket, with national artists, with very well-known artists, and elevating the narrative around art made by Black people, and also just art made in Indiana. And so we are creating a cultural destination in our city, and again, this experience. And it is something that the community has embraced and that we should all be proud of, because Indianapolis is kind of making butter together. So this is how we're kicking off the art season. And so everybody near and far should consider downtown Indianapolis as the place to be Labor Day weekend.
Wow.
I mean, you guys have gotten national and international attention about butter. Can you give us an idea of what folks can expect this year, with it being the 5th year anniversary?
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's always new wrinkles and activations and ideas and themes and just all the stuff that I think people have come to enjoy with butter. But we're really excited to showcase that. Some of this is a little embargoed, but we can tell you that just expect the same sense of joy and belonging, and amazing food and art and music, and the sense of togetherness, and just all the things that butter provides. But are there any nuggets that we can share?
I would say it's a new experience,
Yeah.
right? And there's a new layout. That's not going to be any different this year, right? So this will again be a new experience. We will, of course, center the exhibition hall, but also bring back things like the conversation stage, an education day, which has really been a big hit, inviting students to enjoy the experience before the general public. And so we're very proud of the relationship and the collaboration that we've built with education institutions and schools. And we're really happy that the Friday of Butter is becoming almost an arts education day in Indianapolis. So those things will return. There's a couple more lead up activities. We're doing a dinner with Tinker Street, a collaboration, a butter night at Tinker Street. So be on the lookout for activity over the summer that is kind of kicking off Butter season.
And every year it's a brand new show. It's a new group of curators, which brings forth a new roster of artists. So super excited. That's always the focal point of each Butter. So we're really excited with the group that we're exploring this year.
You guys see culture as a form of resistance, healing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. There are historically, these kind of these patterns of society kind of threatening history and the humanities and the arts, and ultimately that feels like it's preventing us from self-exploration and maybe a sense of identity and community and cultural belonging. And so to advocate for people and identity and culture, we're working to produce and promote and preserve culture.
Yeah.
So it's a direct kind of like I don't a direct resistance, I guess, to the threat of studying that at all. Yeah, it's becoming harder to maintain a sense of identity in an environment that doesn't invite that.
Culture, just the platform, just what it provides is safety. And I think, for a lot of people being able to really dive into the importance of culture and to continue to understand culture, because that is the gateway to understand each other, which is which is community, which is cities and people. So, we're taking the lens of understanding the importance of culture and understanding how to leverage culture in all times. And I think that's one thing that never goes away is culture, and just how can we invest in it in such a way to take care of people at the same time.
You guys make this look so easy. Have you experienced any challenges as you've been growing?
Oh gosh. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the challenges that come to mind even right away are pace, are rest, just among the creative sector, our industry is called on the most. It's completely contradictory that artists should be starving because we are providing, quality of place for everyone, and, we're designing the world. And so an internal challenge maybe is, again, rest and pause and the opportunity for renewal, so that the artist can continue contributing so significantly to all of our lives. The wavering sense of support or not on topics like culture and like race and like the arts and humanities is certainly a challenge. When the climate kind of goes up and down in terms of its fear around the topic or its ease with talking about it or supporting it at all, because that goes up and down, it's a wave that we have to be conscious of.
Talk to me about your legacy. What do you guys hope to leave behind?
Well, we have five children between us, so I think legacy. I'm always thinking of them and just the next generation and what we're building together, and really it's for them. So I think if we're working our hardest to produce, promote, and preserve culture every single day, I think a legacy and our leave behind would be remembrance and understanding of people and place and heritage. And yeah, that would be, yes.
I would say yes. We're trying to create a place where our teenagers want to be, right? And for all generations beyond us. So we're trying to leave a legacy of a more aspirational, a more equitable, a more innovative, and a more truth-forward city. Environments that like to tell the truth are often also art-forward cities and environments, and so we're trying to put that in practice now, so that it can stay in Indianapolis this time.
How can we better support you guys?
Donate. We are a nonprofit.
So come to Butter.
Sponsor Butter.
Yeah, sponsor Butter. Go to art shows.
Volunteer, please.
Support artists at all costs. Go see a movie. Go buy a record. Yeah, reach out to us. We love to collaborate and to talk creatively with people and partners.
Yes, I would say yes. There are many ways to get involved. Support the artists, tell the truth, and volunteer with GANGGANG. We need so many volunteers at Butter. Sponsorships are still available, and we love our sponsors. We take care of our partners. So many ways to get engaged.
Yeah, buy a ticket, buy smart.
Listen, I want to thank you both for sharing your noble thoughts. This conversation has been so enlightening.
Thank you so much for having us.